the idea, my proposal is to just quickly review what this group is and how it relates to other groups that are existing already. And just a bit of a review about what's been happening. Because for me personally, I don't have that background because I've been out of the picture. And then I thought maybe we could talk about the people that aren't on this call, because I know there have been quite a few, especially younger people, part of this group, and I don't see any of them. And we lost Christian, the only person under 60 probably.
We're all pretty old. Some of it are at least.
And then I think, you know, deciding about how often we meet, because that was one of the issues that came up since the last meeting. So that's my proposal. I know that that there's a terms of reference that was discussed and agreed upon and circulated recently. Is anybody not familiar with that?
I'm not.
You're not.
Explain what you mean.
Well, I think Ellen, do you want to explain that? Were you the one?
I can try.
Cheryl, okay.
I did send it to you all a couple of weeks ago or more. Okay, because I sent it. If you would all look at your email of January the 18th.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock in the evening, about your time, Eastern time. Anyway, so we tried to, unfortunately, I'm speaking without looking at it recently. We tried to define what the purpose of this group was and how we would, what we would be working on. And it really is to concentrate on the abolishment of nuclear weapons using the TPNW and Eleanor Holmes Norton bill, which this year is 2850. Okay, this is the one that says stop building nuclear weapons and turn the money over to civilian needs. And she's still trying to get, we've been looking for, so we're looking for co-sponsors for her bill. And we are looking to get people to sign the ICAN Pledge, and legislators, Congress people. And so it's really currently concentrating on Congress.
Yeah.
And if you would please go look at your email of January the 18th. And then I believe yeah.
Is everybody, we have two tools for this group. One is the Google Groups, which is the email list. Is everybody here on that Google group? So you can receive all the information, and you can also send things to everybody in the group. The other thing is the Google Docs. Has everybody got access to that? Which has got the minutes, and I'm sure it's got those other documents also in there, right, Cheryl?
That would be good to remind us. Is it?
But maybe Cheryl could resend it to the email list if you know the date and where it is in your list. Just resend it now, you know, so we'll have it.
Actually, my message was followed by some other people's replying to that. No.
I have it right here.
Because
it out, but where should it go? Where should it go?
Okay, hold on. The folder is there, which has all these documents in it. So you can always go to that. That's in the chat. I just put it in the chat.
You haven't.
The email list is, let's see, hold on.
While you're looking, I'll just say that apparently I might not have sent in my January 18th the very latest version. I picked up something I had. So you really need to look in this Google Doc to get the very latest version of the terms of reference.
Okay, so the
maybe we should just talk about it. You know,
well, I tried to explain.
No, we don't need to talk about it. I mean, we don't have the time right now. What I want to do is I'm trying to just copy. If you go to that link, you'll have all the documents there. So just click on that link and it will save it on your computer for the next time. And
so what we're looking for is terms of reference in the Google Docs.
Am I hearing you
The whole
right?
folder, hold on a second.
And
if
it's
you-
in the chat now?
And you can also, there's two things in the chat now. So the Google Groups that I just put in there, if you click on that, you can also go, you can send emails to that address, but you can also go to that page and it will give you all the emails that have ever been sent to that group. So that's also another place to find so let's not spend time now. If you have trouble, contact Cheryl or me and we'll get you the documents. But there's two places where you can find them, in the Google Groups or in the Google Drive, okay? Can we
Okay.
leave it like that for now or not?
Yeah.
Because really the bigger question is, how does this group fit in with the bigger picture and all the other groups that are doing all the other projects out there?
Right. That's
And
the
in
issue.
particular, I don't know how many of you were at the meeting yesterday of the nuclear ban, what's it called? Collaborative?
That'd be collaborative.
Yeah. So that has, that's made up of working groups. That's a national network. One of the groups is called Legislators and Localities and Legislators,
Yeah,
which
but
I
they're
think a lot of you are on. There was another one that has sort of disappeared, which was called Policy and Advocacy, I think. But there's also other groups working on, days of action for direct action. They're working on
Universities.
I think there was one on divestment as well.
Right.
So, from my point of view anyway, we need to be more organized if we're going to get rid of these terrible, evil weapons. And to be more organized, we need to be working on different, people can work on different projects, on different campaigns, on different aspects of this. And there's plenty of room for everybody to do whatever they want, because we don't have a one solution to get rid of nuclear weapons. We've got to try everything we can, and there's lots of different ways of doing that. And so, as Cheryl identified, my understanding is this group is specifically working on the US Congress, and maybe to some extent on state legislatures, although there's other groups doing that. So for instance, I know we talked last time a lot about the Massachusetts state bill that that nuclear ban is working on. But I mean, there's a working group of MAPA, the Massachusetts Peace Action, which many of us are also part of, which is working specifically on that bill, or at least I hope they will pick it up again. The localities and legislatures, I mean, Joan, you mentioned about a city resolution for San Jose. My understanding is that's what the localities and legislatures group was going to do, work on city and state, resolutions, getting bills, passed and so on. I mean, working on as I said, on divestment or on other things, we can divide up and we can do all these things, and you can be on as many groups as you want. But I think we need to be really clear what this group is and how it relates to these other groups, and stick to that and let people do other things. And if you want to do all of them, join all the groups. That's easy.
All right.
But I know there were discussions about, whether we should merge groups and so on. And personally, I don't think, I mean, if the localities and legislators group is working on local resolutions, I think that's a good thing to work on, and it's a separate thing.
They're doing both, Tim, and I know they're doing both.
Well,
I just know that. So, we might still want to have our own that only does that, but we
I
have
think
to
the more we
know.
could focus and just work on one thing, the better. Personally, I think we could even divide up between people working on the pledge and people working on the Norton bill, because they're two big projects to work on. We've got targets that are slightly different. We could divide up into two teams and work on that. But I mean, one of the things that I would like to propose is that we help work with the localities and legislators group to clarify their role as well, so that we're not doing the same thing. We're not going to spend all our time just talking about stuff. We got to get on with it. Joan wanted to say something.
Yeah, the only thing that I was thinking is that we haven't mentioned the petitions, and that's been a really strong thing that Ellen Thomas has been working with, and there are lots and lots and lots of names on petitions and so on. So they are focused on the two national, Congress things that we're talking about, but we hadn't mentioned the word petitions as a technique, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bit
David?
obviously a bit of overlap. And the big one actually that is just starting is Ban Back from the Brink, which is definitely has made a decision to really focus on Congress and try to get signatures to that, which I find somewhat disconcerting and a little difficult to think about competition. It's odd, but frankly, I've gone through that and feel like, look, I think Tim's right. Just focusing on the two things to Congress and see where that takes us. A beauty of this group is that it's smaller, so actually people can be more involved.
Yeah, and okay, well, I don't know how much longer we want to spend on this particular. I mean, as long as we're clear what we want to do in this group, and we know that there are other groups, there is some overlap, but I think, I think we can work on that. Yeah, Alice?
I just want to make one more point. I think when we're working on Congress, if that's what we're doing, to say we're going to work one on the pledge and one on the Norton bill doesn't make any sense, because if you're talking to one congressperson, you're going to tell them this is the international pledge and here's what we want you to do in America. You're not going to let someone else talk to that. In other words, once you got the meeting, you're not going to give them half a loaf.
Sure.
That's how I thought about splitting it. And otherwise, I mean, we should just, it's very important that we have a very strong US nuclear ban campaign because of Back from the Brink, because their message does not resonate with me. I mean, I think it's very strong that we talk about banning the bomb, not no first use, and all that stuff. And Ralph's group is like that. I just want you to know. So we have an ally. I mean, that's what they're going for. So we're really allied. If we need to be separate, that might be so. I'm not sure, but I think we definitely need a strong counter. I don't want to work with the ban the bomb people. I want to get out in front of them and make our arguments that we should be going for the treaty. I mean, not the, what am I saying? Not Back from the Brink.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Back from the Brink, it's they're not aiming for support for Ellen Holmes Norton's bill, and they're not aiming for ICAN pledges. So we're not competing with them as such.
We're not.
And I think it's fine for them to get signatures for the Back from the Brink, and we'll go after the same people and get them to sign the ICAN pledge. I mean, I think it's fine.
That's what I was thinking. The more, the better, coming at them.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we move on from that point? We got more items on the agenda. Just to say that there are other groups as well as that one. I mean, as I said, the MAPA group in particular is working. And again, there's been lots of overlap with all these groups, but I think the more we can try to help clarify, I mean, I'm working on our state bill in Massachusetts, even though I'm down in DC, because that's a really high priority for me. But I don't think that needs to be a priority for this group, because it's not Congress. It's a state bill. And there are other groups working in other parts of the country on other things, and Okay, so review of who has been doing what in this group, in particular targeting different members of Congress. And I was looking at the minutes of previous meetings and just trying to understand, what has been done and what's, are there any updates? Because I know, for instance, Asha and Christian, I think, and somebody called Hannah met with members of Katie Porter's staff, and I don't know what happened about that. Does anybody know? I know that
I got my congresswoman on both things.
Yep, you're up
They
there.
have Holmes Norton and the pledge.
Yep. But Betty McCollum, for instance, I mean, I know that Steve McEwen and Marie Braun were on this call earlier at other meetings, and they got Betty McCollum to sign the ICAN pledge, but she hasn't signed the Norton bill yet. So, I just don't know whether people are working on that at that level. I know that there are other, really high priority targets. Kim, I forget where you said you're in Michigan. Are you in?
Yeah, I'm
to lead?
focused on Representative Andy Levin. who
Andy Levin.
Yeah, he should be a shoo-in. He should
Yeah.
be, because he signed Eleanor Norton Bill's
Right.
last Congress, the same, as to
Right.
my understanding is almost the same language. And I have been communicating with the staff for about half a year. I'd say even 7 or 8 months. So
Mhm.
there's emails back and forth. So at least we got clarity on. Backtrack. January 22nd, I invited him to speak at our first anniversary of the TPNW. We had a rally and a vigil and a program at the Ferndale United Methodist Church. And he declined. His staff member emailed me to clarify that Andy was not willing to sign a pledge for some future legislation. I think was the wording of it. Reverend Rich Peacock, who was our leader, as he mentioned this at our meeting, he said, well, that was not good enough. We have to keep working on him.
Yeah.
So then but as far, then I clarified that I wanted him to co-sponsor 2850, and the staff said, okay, well, we forwarded that on to the legislature committee, and I haven't, if they've responded, I need to look for it. So, because it's possible that it got buried in my emails.
Okay.
But, so I have to follow up with whoever handles the legislation in his office.
Yeah.
And also let him know that there's a video that was taken of our program. I have a friend who's going to help me edit it down to 30 seconds. There's a big annual event coming up mid-March, a virtual event. So I'll be presenting this 30-second video of our program from January 22nd. So ideally, that'll be available to share with you as well.
Right.
So
Good.
I don't
Good.
know.
Well, just to, I don't know how near you are to Rashida Tlaib's constituents district.
Well, Rashid had been invited to. She sent a statement, and that's part of my report.
Right.
Very,
Well,
very supportive.
She's very supportive, and her staff is very supportive. And I've already asked them to ask her to speak directly to Ayanna Pressley about signing the pledge.
Okay,
and maybe
great.
we could get Rashida Tlaib to just gently nudge Andy Levine to co-sponsor the bill. I mean, that's, we got to try all these different tacks to get these people, but we can't give up. They're gonna sign something.
Well, that's a
Sorry.
good
Yeah.
point. When I email Andy Levin's staff next, I'll be sure to attach Rashid Tlaib's statement.
Yeah.
It was very
And
Rashid Tlaib has a video link.
yeah. Yep. Yep. Good.
I
Okay.
think that might even. Where do I have it? Anyway, I was going to say it might even be on the ICAN website. I'm not sure where I
It's
picked it
on.
up.
I think it's on our website, Nuclear Ban website. It
Oh,
might be
okay.
on ICANN as well, because they do have some videos of members of legislators. Sorry, Cheryl. you
And
wanted
that's while we're on that topic, what was new from last evening about the Nuclear Ban Collaborative is that they're working on a new website.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to support each other.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. No, that's good. We got to keep following up with Andy Levine. Anybody else? Yeah, Cheryl, you had a report on updates?
Well, I was just talking in past minutes. I'm looking through because I write things for every meeting. And the reason you saw younger people here was that Christian brought some of his interns from the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation. So they were very helpful in we have that Excel sheet that describes bunches of Congress people in the Progressive Caucus, for example, who we should be talking to. And they did reach out in last August and September. And a lot of work was done there to, and I presume those the latest version of those Excel sheets are in the Google Drive. And it says here that he was making progress, trying to meet with Katie Porter. So
that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, does anybody here know what happened about Katie Porter? Because I mean, we got to keep following that up as well. We can't just let them drop.
And the other thing I noticed here was we were drafting. We decided back in August, this was all when Aisha was still here, that we should write to the House Foreign Relations Committee, because that is the committee who needs to move Eleanor Holmes Norton bill, I believe. So we tried to identify House committees where these things were in their purview. And we started to draft a letter to the House Foreign Relations Committee. And what I can't tell you is whether it was ever sent. So I think that kind of approach is very good. You identify the committees, you identify the members of the committee, and, you know, many of them we're not their constituents, but we can write to them as a member of the, because committees.
Does anybody else know whether that letter was sent? No.
This is unfortunately where not having Christian here is he says here, okay, on 19th of August minutes, my own notes, it says Christian said he had a fantastic talk with the National Security Aide to Katie Porter about the TPNW in the Marshall Islands. A fantastic talk with her National Security Aide. So information did get to her, apparently. So that's, and he did not bring they have interns all the time. Maybe they don't in the winter, but usually he gets his interns to attend this meeting, which is good. And they are undergraduates. And
well, I understand that the ones that he had a couple of months ago are gone now. So I don't know, how
they come and go. And then we had this man called Isaac, who was slightly older. He was a law student.
Okay, well,
he was very helpful.
Brings me on to the next item of the agenda, actually, because there's a list of like 48 people in this group, according to the Google. So I don't know if those are all interns who've left, or are there other people that are normally here, or how many of you have been coming regularly? I think it's related to the question about the frequency of the meetings, because in my experience of organizations, I mean, if you have a meeting too frequently for people to really keep up with, then they drop off and you get fewer and fewer people until you can't meet anymore. So, I don't know, does anybody, I mean, I thought maybe we could divide up and actually try to contact people that we know that have been in this group and see if they want to still be in it, and try to get the next meeting, you get more people to come. But maybe we don't want more people, I don't know.
Yeah, so looking at my notes, because I always write down who is attending, typically we have less than 10 people. Okay. And so
he's one of the ones I was wondering about.
Who? Isaac?
Seth has just joined us.
Well, he is our ICAN person, right? So
all ICAN. Seth, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So just to say, there's always been a smaller number of people, much smaller than the 40 on the Google Doc. Yeah. And even though we were meeting once a week, it tended to be, there were 8 or 9 of us who were the same every week, last July, August, and September. So finding out if people really want to be on the Google Doc. I think that's a good idea. I know Ellen and we're in charge of some listservs. We keep asking people, do you really want to be on this listserv? They never answer, so we never take them off.
Well, we can do an email and ask people again if they want to be part of this, and if so, can they come to the next meeting, or let us know if they don't want to continue or whatever.
I
Can we
think
do
the
that?
meeting time is, I think, here we are in the middle of California Day and not too late in your day. I don't know what it means for working people. I think I read somebody said they could not meet in the evenings. I don't know why they can't meet in the evenings, but I think if at least the East Coast was an evening time, I think maybe you'd get more people.
Well, maybe we can meet at different times. I don't know. To get, I know there was a doodle poll done by somebody called Jed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was an intern.
Did everybody fill that out? And I understand that this was the time that was chosen, but I don't know about that either.
We have
Right.
Christian coming back on, so maybe he knows. Yeah, hi,
Aha,
Chris.
okay.
It actually wasn't a doodle poll. It was a very strange, different platform, and I certainly had a hard time understanding it.
Okay.
I think a doodle
Christian,
poll would have
welcome
been
back.
better.
Let's ask Christian about this, because we're just discussing the people that aren't on this call,
Right.
and whether this was the time that worked for most people, or whether we need to change the times a bit, or.
I'm okay with changing the time. I know that we used a new software program because we were having issues with Doodle, and we thought the other platform would be easier. It's not. So I'm okay with finding new times that don't conflict. I'm not a big fan of Friday afternoon meetings or Friday evening meetings myself, so I'm really flexible.
Well, we can. I mean, I don't know. Do you have
Was
the
it-
access to the poll of how what people had said on there?
I can check again. I know Jed has access.
Okay.
So.
Was it any of the people on right now who said, I think it was a woman's name, that she could not meet in an evening?
There was one, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. Do you remember the name?
Don't remember the name.
Right. I to me, that's so strange that somebody says she can't do evenings. I would have thought they were easier.
Well, everybody's different. Let's try again anyway to find some other times then. If you can check, Christian, and see if there's another time that would work.
I will check. And again,
What about the frequency? So I was proposing every other week rather than every week as being maybe more manageable. I don't know if even that's, I mean, a lot of groups meet monthly. I mean, you need a lot of dedication to meet every single week, but maybe we have that. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Well, my preference is once a month. So, and this time works okay for me, though. That I think what I'm hearing is there's a need to poll everybody that's on the Excel spreadsheet to get a better consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and try email first and then follow up if we don't get responses from people. Maybe every 2 weeks maximum, but if every month, it seems to give us enough time to, if we're working on different projects and just reporting back and encouraging each other, then maybe once a month is okay. But otherwise, it seems like maybe every other week would be good. Thanks. This is Joan.
Thanks. Alice?
Yeah, now that we have Christian on the phone, I'm wondering if you could tell us, Christian, whether we can actually get the young people to participate. That would seem to be
We
what
can
makes
get
this.
them, but it has to be evenings. It cannot be
Then
afternoon.
let's do that, because we don't need us. We're on all these old people's calls all the time anyway, I mean, I think if we don't get young people, I don't know what distinguishes us from what Ralph was doing, or what Veterans of Peace, we're doing it now too. We're going to Congress to get people to sign the pledge and go on the Eleanor Holmes Norton, but to reach out to young people and get them in our network, that's a big deal, I think. I'm
Yeah,
just,
so the preference for them always evenings, I feel.
Okay, well, let's do another poll and see, and you know, make some choices about who we want to cater to. If there's people who can't do evenings and people who can, and we want to get young people, then you know, I don't think it's about. Well, anyway, whatever.
May I say something?
Yeah, please.
I think the reason that we did it weekly, Tristan, you can maybe tell me if I'm wrong, that we did it weekly was because it became something that people got used to doing. That was part of it. It reminded us once a week that this is a project that we're working on. It sort of forced us to think about that. If you have it just once a month, then it goes along with all the other once a month meetings. And if you do it every other week, then it gets lost a little bit. Yeah, but if you do it like we do the disarm committee meetings at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on the second and last Sundays. And people get used to that and they show up. So it's just a matter of the practicality of doing it in such a way, because we all have so many things that we are watching and doing
Yeah.
that we need to be
Well,
really
that's
consistent.
well, the fact that we all have lots of things that we're doing as well is also part of the problem, though, of
Well,
meeting so frequent.
except you can't get everybody to come at the same time. But if you have regular meetings, then those who couldn't come to the earlier one, maybe can come to the later one. And that's what we found with the disarm committee. It's not always the same people at the meeting.
Okay, so maybe we could meet twice a month, but at two different times, and see if that helps for some
Yeah.
people to come to one and some to the other. And if people can come to both, then that's also fine.
I also think that we need to, I don't know if this was discussed, but we need to like maybe set up subgroups.
Yeah.
So, because like I think we need to start doing activities.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of work to do if we're going to focus on the ICAN pledges and the Norton bill, and I suggested that we could even break down, but you know, whatever. I mean, we can. I mean, we need to work on specific targets like Katie Porter or whatever. I mean, there needs to be a team working on Katie Porter, and there needs to be a team working on Andy Levine. You know, to if we really want to get these people, it takes more than one person plugging away. You know, we need to discuss what's working, what's not working. We need to hear from each other about what we've tried and what's succeeded. We can try again somewhere else. But I totally agree. From my point of view, you know, I don't want to just meet. You know, I want to meet because we have a purpose and we're doing the work, and we meet because we're sharing what we're doing and we're learning from each other and picking up tips and whatever, so that we can, if nothing else, inspiring each other to get on with it, because we're hearing what each other is actually accomplishing. And I would hope that, you know, we've got plenty that we can be doing, so that we are reporting back on those things.
Can I say,
Well, just to check in, it's on the top of the hour. Somebody had to leave. Maybe they already left.
somebody has left.
Yeah.
We were
Then
12.
we're going to finish at 15:15. Is that right for everybody else? Yeah. Okay. So go ahead, Cheryl.
So every 2 weeks is different from twice a month. Okay.
5 days.
And so we need to decide between that, because every 2 weeks, you know, will come up. It's not the same. So every 2 weeks, there are 52 weeks in a year, you know, and so on and so forth. That's 26 times a year.
Sure. Well, I'm proposing that we meet twice a month at two different times to try to attract different people that can't meet at the other time, and that people that can meet both times come to both. If they can only come to one, come to one. And we'll try to divide up into some teams that are working in the meantime, and we can be doing a lot more by email, or, you know, I mean, this is not the generation for Slack or Trello, but there are lots of tools out there for collaborating and working on things, you know, in between meetings. We don't have to wait for the next meeting. However, any other thoughts about the frequency of meetings or the?
So shall we leave this meeting as it is and then set another meeting that's going to be better for the younger people?
Well, I think we still need to connect with the people who aren't here. So if Christian can firstly sort of look back at the non-doodle poll and see what it, you know, who responded and what times. We need to sort of do a bit of evaluation. But if this time works for everybody on this call, then I think we should maybe stick to that. You got any views, Seth? Because you joined us at the end of the meeting in terms of the timing and so on. Is this any good for you?
I'm like not sure what would work best for me, but I like the way you're taking the discussion and, you know, prioritizing around who of Christian's connections could be brought in. I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
But I also, you know, I appreciate where you're coming from with like, let's focus on the tasks, and then the frequency and content of the meetings can be structured around what we're actually doing. I mean, this is because you don't have to set this in stone right now.
Right.
Obviously,
Well, some people like
structure
to know ahead of time, you know, and get it into their clocks, their internal clocks. We know when we're meeting. So you know,
The
at
calendars.
The moment, sorry.
Or the calendars.
Yeah.
You said something about not meeting very much longer this morning or today. And I'm wondering whether we want to acknowledge that we haven't gotten through the agenda and whether there's anything on the agenda that we can or should try to do before we break up today. Anything
Well,
else?
we've done pretty well with the agenda.
Did it.
Sorry?
I think we did the agenda.
Yeah,
Sort of.
I mean, you know, we
Yeah.
haven't set some goals or targets for people for the next meeting, which I think would be good. But and Alice has her hands up, unless that's from before.
No, I did want to say one thing, but
Okay, go ahead. We got.
I
5 more
want
minutes.
us to remember that if we're targeting members of Congress, that we have to target our membership and see who lives in their districts.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a couple of lobbyists in DC going around. If this is
Oh, we
not,
need both. We need both.
if they're not hearing from constituents that it's
Yep,
a
yep.
rising movement,
Right.
then we're out of luck. They don't give a
Yep.
crap about it. you
Well,
know?
that's. Yeah.
That's the
Okay,
truth.
yeah.
They got to hear from a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time to ban the bomb, you know, I mean, and then we can figure out who to go after, and then, but we got to figure out how to get to people in their districts. That's part of our job
Mhm.
if we're going to be effective.
Okay, so Alice, you said at the last meeting that you were going to go after some of the other representatives of New York.
I don't
right?
remember saying that,
Okay,
but
well,
that was probably
what's in the minutes.
before Omicron, where I haven't even gone out of the house.
Okay.
So don't count on me right now.
Well, there was somebody called Isaac. Does anybody know who that is?
Yeah, Isaac France. I know him from the
He was
Yemen.
supposed to go after Jamal Bowman and
I don't know.
Isaac was one of the interns.
Right,
Oh,
that's
okay.
Isaac Austin Vorticki. He was
So they're
volunteering.
not seeing stuff.
sorry, what was that? Seth?
Isaac Austin Vorticki, I think probably. He was volunteering for me. And
Is he
now,
still around or?
I mean, he's still around, but he's not working with us right now. He's back in school. He's
I
like
see.
with us. He hasn't not
Okay.
passed.
Okay, well, I just wanted to, I just had it was minuted before that he was working on those two representatives in New York City.
Is he reachable, Seth?
Yeah, I can check in with him. I was not supervising him with this work directly. Actually, Christian may know if he made any progress, but he didn't report any progress to me on this.
He did not make progress. He was having difficulty, and what happened was we agreed, this was before Asha left, that we were going to contact in September, or sorry, in October, after the high Jewish holidays, because we mentioned that many of the New York staff members probably took off for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So it wouldn't have made sense to contact them in like late September and wait until after the high holidays.
Okay, well, that was a while ago, but if he's not around, we'll have to start again with that, I guess. And what about Katie Porter, Christian?
So I can follow up with Katie. I actually had a meeting with her on RMI activities when I was in DC in November. So, and we met directly with her via Zoom. And it was a really fantastic discussion. I can certainly follow up and engage with her and her team.
Okay.
Right.
And Diane from Berkeley, we've already got Barbara Lee. She's one of our best supporters for both of these things, but we need her help now to get other people in Congress to join it, to sign. So maybe you would be willing to work with her, some of her staff in Berkeley, or be part of a team that's trying to get Barbara Lee to like I said, I've asked Rashida Tlaib to intervene on our behalf with Ayanna Pressley, because we're very close to getting her, and maybe Barbara Lee could also write a letter or have a word with her or something, convince her to sign up. You're on mute, so I don't know if you're responding.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. That's a great idea. I'm glad to have a little job.
Yeah, good.
I'll call on Monday morning.
Okay.
Monday is President's Day. You
Oh,
won't
you're right,
find
you won't.
anybody.
No, not
I forgot
Monday.
about that. Yes, I'll call on Wednesday morning.
Okay. Yeah, Alice, and then we're gonna close. I think.
Just quickly for food for thought. I mean, we're in this horrible thing with Ukraine. The ban treaty, the best chance we have in America is if the NATO countries rise up and get the nukes out of Europe. That'll make our country wake up that they're not our friends. Like, the biggest thing happening with the ban treaty right now is that Norway and Germany were going to send an observer to the opening meeting. China and Russia asked for the nukes to get out of NATO.
Okay, but Alice,
In
you're
their
opening.
statement, I'm just saying, I'm trying to think how we can talk about it, where we'll get people going, that it's a possibility. Do you know what I mean? That this is like the stuff down and dirty.
Yep.
Kind of.
Well, you're really good at writing op-eds and getting them published, Alice. Go for it.
But I mean, in our lobbying, what
Yeah,
we're going, when you're going to Katie Porter, when you're
Yeah.
going, if you want to get them on board, to tell them the opportunities that, that the ban treaty is not pie in the sky. Our European
So this is another
another discussion.
issue for the next meeting, maybe. But I mean,
Right.
I understood that you all worked on some talking points or draft letters to send to the members of Congress to convince them to sign on. I don't know where that is got to either, but I mean, we can be constantly coming up with better, more arguments, more points, more stories to share with members of Congress, and that includes with the ones that have already signed up. Because even though Carolyn Maloney has signed both, she's going to need constantly to be reminded, like, this is a big issue. This is, we want her to take more leadership on this. So maybe you could take a swing at that, and we can.
I just want to tell you, to make you happy, that in my nuclear posture draft, I put in warheads to windmills. I put that in as part of the Eleanor Holmes Norton bill.
Right. Well, it's 1:15. Are we going to meet at the very least at this time in 2 weeks on the Friday, which would be when?
The fourth.
4th of March. At the same time, does this work for people? Unless we hear otherwise from Christian about two other times, but we'll at least have in your diary that we're going to meet again on the 4th of March at 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
So-
Okay.
I just following on Alice's point, I think,
Yeah,
I
but we got
think-
to go.
right, well,
Sorry?
anyway, the Ukraine nuclear possibilities, I think, are waking up some people, and we should use that to our advantage.
It's seriously scary stuff, and we need to include that in our pitches.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Sorry.
Thank you,
Thank-
chat.
Next-
Thank you, Timon,
if-
for keeping us on point, and
Yeah, great to have you back.
yeah,
All right then.
we'll get somewhere now.
Take care.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
hi to Vicky. We should have heard about her.
I will.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hope she's okay.
She's good. She's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.